This is my first look at the first project on January 20. Now, on 2025. Before I start, I want to say if you're just going through videos trying to find out how to heck to take off, you use the kiosks that are inside the area I'm in now. This is a showroom. Or you go into the hangars themselves and you spawn with the WASD keys and the space bar. Here are, if you pause there's the key layout. And then you hold down the S key until the circle goes all the way around. And then remember to completely turn the ship around when the arms go. You can use my chapters in this video to hop to those sections. Okay, all that out of the way. What is the game like so far? So it's a preview, a lot like in the early days of Star Citizen or the Hangar module. But basically they went with a showroom, and in my opinion it is nothing like Star Citizen. I'm going to explain why. If you're a space sim fan, you're going to enjoy it, etc. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but the point is that it is not a direct competitor, but I can't help but look at things that they've seemed to have learned from each other. And in particular, this in this case, almost all the things that I'm going to call out are like lessons from Star Citizen or other games. Starfield also has a little bit of a feel to this as well because of the technology we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So right now there are 3 different ships inside the game. There is a civilian ship, an industrial ship, and a combat ship. And they have different looks, feels, and interesting things. Like the industrial ship has more storage, of course, but still has 2 weapon hardpoints. The civilian ship only has a single weapon hardpoint, but it has a massive window, a lot like the real life International Space Station's hexagonal style window or octagonal style window it has for visibility. You can see the window there of the industrial ship right there to your top right. And those windows are going to make a lot more sense as we go into it, because the pilot of these single pilot, 1 crew ships are absolutely critical visibility wise through those windows, because the whole ship goes up. You can see those massive thrusters, but they're very once again real life styled. It feels like they're trying to extrapolate like where things are going with commercial space flight and government space flight and take it a step further. Interesting side note is the most, I guess, NASA-inspired and NISA-inspired ship would be the civilian one, the RCU branded one. And we'll go into that in a minute. I really like that ship. I'm sure I wouldn't appreciate it if players could shoot at each other, or I needed to move a whole bunch of stuff. But overall, it's a very convenient ship. As I stare into these areas and I note these companies, so in other games, a big part of it is companies make the world feel more intricate, make the world feel deeper. I wasn't able to find a lot of lore, if any, so far. And then you'll note that Starfield style seat to place with a line. It feels inspired by. I'm testing out. This is the first time I was able to free look with the camera, because when you jump into the seated position and then you press V, you're able to free look without having to hit another key. I later found out that if you're walking around or you're seated in a pilot seat, that you can still free look by just pressing the mouse button, the middle mouse button, and that unlocks your view, and then you press the middle mouse button again, and then it relocks your view to straight ahead. I don't think it'll impact HOTAS or other kinds of unique control systems, because a lot of those guys and gals who run with them have a mouse usually as well on top of whatever they have. But if you don't have a mouse with that type of setup, I do want to note that you'll have to come up with a rebind for that key, because it's very, very, very important. You have to free look just to get to your RCUI is the civilian brand. But anyway, the free look capability of your mouse is a big part of flying the ship, like loading in targets, finding out communications, doing trade, refueling the ship. And it's almost as important as what surprised me was WASD keys. So I'm trying to interact with civilians. So the F key is the interact button, like many other games. And you can see when there's a pop-up, but it's not always there. So I thought that was interesting. Another interesting thing is that they have the bios of Sergei Pavlovich Korolev, the man behind the curtain of the USSR space program until he passed away, and they have his entire bio in here. For some reason, they also have von Braun down there, and I was be honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked if Goddard's down there as well. I just didn't see it. I saw Korolev, I saw von Braun. That was the two I saw running around. So I'd assume that there's some type of inspiration for a lot of the technologies here. They're trying to recognize a nod to the actual creators or the inventive minds that at least got people started in this direction. So why does that matter? So this game is, once again, very different than many others. I would honestly try to say it's like trying to be The Expanse. The story that turned in from the books that turned into the show of The Expanse. So I think that's honestly closer the first books, not the later books, that it's trying to be. It kind of feels like it's a very rudimentary Expanse. Now there's no PDCs and running around or anything on these ships so far, but we just have these tiny little one crew vessels. But anyway, it's based in solar system of Sol, and there's me testing the chat. And it is supposed to be a 1-to-1 of the Sol solar system. So Earth, its moon, Luna, and then all of the other wonderful things that are around us. So extrapolating from that, probably some of the first targets after that will be Mars and its moon, and then going beyond that, going out to further targets around Mars, because Mars has some interesting access to asteroid belts. If I was them, that's where I'd go, but I don't know where the direction is past there. So to me, the direction I would go is start with Mars after the moon, and then go to create Mars's moons, Phobos, and then later on Deimos. And I'm going to go into why I think that's important. So this game does not have quantum or FTL or jump drives. You hit the B key, it changes a flight mode. You go a few thousand kilometers. They use kilometers in this only, kilometers an hour. And, well, at least I haven't seen it. I shouldn't check the settings before I say that. I don't know if you can change it to something else. But anyway, you hit the B key while you're pointing towards your target, and you go quite a bit faster because you're only going a few hundred kilometers an hour. Let's say 200 kilometers an hour or something like that. And I think, if I remember right, the test on the industrial vessel I do later in this. Once again, you can jump to the chapters if you just want to go see the flight characteristics. But the three ships that are here, they all have that same capability where you hit the B key and you can assign a target to track it, and then you start moving towards it at much higher speeds, and then you hit an invisible wall and blow up. Because right now, what this is a test bed. Once again, I wasn't kidding when I said it's like a showroom module, a lot like a hangar module, that happens to have flight. So when you retrieve things here, it goes to a hangar in an elevator system, and there's a little picture of what you picked, which is kind of adorable on the hangar, on the elevator module, on the elevator system, to remind you which hangar you picked. There's the one I really like, the RCUI Harbin. Its visibility is excellent. The interior looks wonderful. It's very luxurious, which in a lot of games, I think of Eve, I think a Star Citizen. I think every game I've ever played, civilian is like a dirty word. Civilian's like the first starter ship, and its civilian weapons and modules are the worst ones of anything. Especially in Eve, civilian gear was absolutely worthless, and it was like, oh, you didn't even bother to train up like level 3 in something, like light weapon, like light guns and stuff. small guns training and stuff. And now you can only use the civilian, the LOL. You know, it comes on the starter, the noob ship, which is worthless. I later found out, by the way, you press F even though it doesn't have the indication. But one of the reasons this is going to be so long is, and you can use the chapters to jump, is because I wanted to show like how it wasn't seamless, it wasn't exactly perfect, but I also didn't want to seem like I was leaving anything out. When I have an edit, I will call it out, and the only edits you will see is when I literally stop the video out of concern that I don't want to get it corrupted or lose a big chunk of video, and I'm immediately starting the video again right after that happened, and I'll cite them as soon as that happens. There's only a couple of those, but anyway, back to this. Here is the combat unit, the Badger, which is a light fighter. You can see, oh, 3 weapon slots. Take that back. 3 weapon slots on the Badger. If you already placed a comment correcting me, I apologize. Once again, this is a first look. It's down and dirty, unedited as much as humanly possible. And back to the industrial, you'll see there's 2 weapon slots on there. Note the cargo capacity in meters 3, so 4 times those containers on the sides is what you're seeing. So the industrial vessel has the carrying capacity as expected. The visibility on the industrial is actually pretty good. I didn't expect that. Because of, you'll see it in a moment, but the way they do things is there is this chair when you get up into this tiny little space at the top, a lot like Vantil's chair, that allows you to jump into it, and then it turns 90 degrees and points straight up towards the top of the ship. And it's once again reminiscent of some ideas that people have had for actual space flight, and it does make it a little interesting to take off and land, because you have to use cameras. When you press the V button to change your view, you can actually see one of the cameras right there, if I think that box is what I think it is, and that will help you land. Right now, you don't have to know how to land, because you keep blowing up when you hit the invisible wall when you leave the station too far. And the station itself has its own version of landing. You'll note this shutter. That is not me. That's the game loading in, I think, assets into this ship that I'm jumping into. I will say, when they spawned in the hangar, I did not experience that shutter. So it's possible that it's preloading those assets for me because I queued up the ship. I don't know. You'll note that there's 2 sets of servers in here. There's nowhere near as many modules as some other games may have. But it could just be because this is a single crew, tiny, very, very, very small ship. And this one, once again, is the fighter. It's bare bones, you know, as much armor as possible, slapping on as many weapons as possible, 3 hard points of armor. And I think a ship like this will have a lot of things to do, because in general, games like this tend to nail down at least some basic level of space combat pretty well. And the game itself is saying on their website that they will have high-risk, high-profit missions focused on space battles and gain control of physical laws of space to secure the best of space battles. That's literally how they spelled it. I don't know. This is a very interesting game. It's like an indie developer, as far as I can tell, that was then backed by Xola. So that's a pretty big publisher, fintech type thing. You draw with that what you will. I'm not gonna say anything positive or anything about that, but it could very well be. The vibe I got was that a lot of this is very European, especially because the units measure. Also, the way things are done, and when you even go to the vending machine, it's like in I think it's like 15 comma 0, noting which we use decimal points here in America. So that was the vibe I got, was that it was very European. If you think that's noticeable in these type of designs, I felt it's worth mentioning as we go through the first vehicle and I talk through some of the limited documentation that we have. You'll note that this is very modern, once again, like space modules that they would use on space stations or space vehicles. And you will note that there's a lot of buttons. They don't currently do anything. What does something is this chair. So when you hop into the pilot chair, this is what I was talking about with those windows, you'll note a loading screen. And there's a lot to be said, like I said before, about visibility. When you press the V key, you'll note that's the landing camera that we went by when the ladder was outstretched. And you'll note there's a secondary camera pointing forward of the ship, which I think is a good move to have it on both ends of the ship, especially if you're going to make the first-person view of the design limited in one direction. The cameras are that much more critical. I will note that there is a third-person view I found out about later, where you can hold down, you press the middle mouse button, and that allows you to pivot, much like in first-person view, around the ship when you're flying the ship in that seat, and allow you to get a much better view. I don't know if they're going to keep that or not. This is me testing the seat. I was hoping it would stay in third person while it got into the seat to see the mechanisms all flying around and the screens and everything else. You will note that the MFDs and the screen, when they are not in use, huddle against the wall. This is an edit, so I walked down the ladder without issue, and then I was facing I went down to the civilian one that's right next door, and in front of it is Werner von Braun's bio for some reason. I think that if they're going to do this, it would make sense to talk about why these bios are here. Like, it could just be a note at the kiosk there for the weapons and such. I did not test that on the right. But I would love if they would just put something at the end of these, like a couple sentences that, like, in lore companies are inspired by this person or that person, right? So this famous rocket scientist, you can see his ethos in the designs that we carry on today. Something like that. Like one sentence is all you need. You will note there's an elevator on the civilian model. It is nice to have that. I do think that people in theory could grief if permissions don't work right. So if permissions are not a thing, there are other players running around this game. They could absolutely run over your ship. If it's a low gravity or low gravity environment, run the elevator up and then hop back down, and you can't get into your ship. But then you can just call the elevator back anyway, unless that panel's somehow broken. So it's a little silly. That's the door to open and close the ship. That's the one nitpick I have about this specific vessel. I really like the high visibility where everything's kind of outlined in that orange color. And I like the design, I like the window, I like the MFDs, I like the color on them. Well, the MFDs look the same on the other ships, if I'm right, but the point is that I really like the UI of this ship, and I like the design language of this ship. I am not an expert on those things, but they are quite nice when you see them done right. I know what they look, I know what I like. So if you notice, there's a custom HUD that's right above the character, where you'll see that it's like a hexagonal design in front of them, and then a hexagonal screen that's designed just for that space. That'd probably be real painful to replace if they get to that granular level, but it is nice. I don't like the landing camera as well as the other ship, but you can still third-person view and kind of angle and get, am I near that crater or not type of things. And you can use that normal camera to do the final landing. It's a minor thing. But the biggest thing for me is this ship is the door is very big and bulky and a tiny little space, but when it is closed, it is quite nice. This is when I finally realized you can hit that middle mouse button, because I'm frantically hitting a whole bunch of keys, searching online, all these things, trying to figure out how the heck to work this. When you go into any of these panels, it's WASD keys are king, and then you hit the space bar to select things. Again, I don't know where they came up with that, and this is important that they are not clickable. You cannot just hit the F key, the interact key again, and drag it. But once you hit the spacebar key, you can target a specific location. Now, while we are only 4,127.9 kilometers away from Luna, You cannot get to it in this, as far as I can tell. I've tried 3 times and blew myself up 3 times trying to do it. Tried to go slow through the wall. I tried to go around the wall. I got creative. I tried to back through the wall in the 3rd try. It didn't work out. So, on different attempts. I don't know. Well, my version is slow. I didn't go slow enough, let's be honest. But anyway, the point is that as far as I can tell, it's this. We're in a giant space station. It is a showroom with hangars in it, and that's about all that's activated so far. There are advertisements for a bar. There are advertisements for other things, hinting that there are other things going on, but those are not in yet. You will note this fancy control panel to open and close the door, and also deploy the elevator. I think if this ship had another seat, that elevator would be really, really nice, especially if you're picking up somebody. So if somebody else needs a ride, being able to just open the door and throw an elevator down to them and then bring the elevator back up as soon as they hop on, that's pretty slick. It's a shame there isn't a camera screen right next to that control panel, so then you could see somebody, okay, my buddy is on the elevator, time for them to come up. Because otherwise you'll have to use the chat where you hit the enter key, type in what you're going to say, hit enter again, or be on comms together on Discord, or if this thing adds a VoIP or something, voice over IP, that would be a way to handle that as well. But for now, it's kind of just winging it. You could peek over the side, but if you fall, you're going to feel really dumb, especially if there isn't very low gravity on the location you're at. Anyway, the elevator is an interesting dynamic. The other ones do not have it. I think it speaks to me that this is focusing its budget on interesting things like elevators and not on weapon platforms and other things like that. There are points, these mountable points. When you press the U key, they come out, and you can see the weapons when you're out in space and flying around. They do not work right now, as far as I can tell. I tried to shoot things, it did not allow me to, and I wasn't like going after other players or anything like that. I was trying to shoot an asteroid and shoot a space satellite. You can see that shutter again. It seems to happen around the ships. Maybe it was loading in those flames on the bottom of those engines, that bluish color. I guess that is what the engines look like when the rockets are activated. It's inside a station. I will note this showroom actually has one more pad, which suggests to me they have one more thing to show off in the near term. Just a random speculation, but I wouldn't surprise me. Note the thrusters are more protected in this combat variant, where they're kind of like hidden underneath the panels. It's harder to see them, to shoot them off, and I would imagine they have more hit points overall, or it's just harder to hit them, even if you can't see them. Because when you go to the industrial, you'll note that the thrusters are just completely exposed. They're big thrusters, but they're exposed and easy to target. Somebody could easily come up as a pirate and attack that massive thruster. I mean, even at a glance, when I just spun over there, you can clearly see that thruster in the top right. You blow that off, I'd imagine it loses a lot of its capabilities. And with that being said, I do want to note that I did not see any modules. In fact, I think the hit points are like at a percentage point base right now, because I did bounce into things and I saw the percentage, I think, go down to 90%. It could have been a fuel, but I don't know yet. So when we leave the showroom, there are these elevators, and the one place the elevators go to is hangars. And you can spawn ships in the hangars. You can also spawn them in the showroom, then go into the elevators, and then go to your location. Again, noting that that Luna it's a very cold place most of the time when you're not in the sun. And there is your bar advertisement, J bar, with a picture of a blue jay. Now, inside here, we go to any of these hangars, and in theory, note all these hangars, so they're designed for like overflow. I think that speaks volumes to the confidence they have. I feel like they have the confidence to have like 20 plus players on this, or at the very least they want to. I think that speaks to it. Now we're back to the showroom. Why, I don't know. I think I just tested the hangars first. And then I realized that, oh, I got to the terminal. I didn't realize that these terminals were inside the hangars already as well. So I go to the civilian version because I like that one, and WSD key my way over to that retrieve button at the bottom with spacebar. So if you hit WSD enough, it'll go, I think it's the D key, it'll take you over to the retrieve button. It'll highlight it, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to click different things. There we go. And then it tells me Hangar 4L. Go back to the elevator, and we will go to Hangar 4L. Again, this is kind of like a really long video because I don't want to leave anything out. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to make it look worse or better than it is. This is the current status of this game on January 20th, 2025. And this is the demo that they have. They emphasize it's a free-to-play demo. Anybody can go do. Their official website is verseproject.online. It is what it is. I think as long as it's free, I can't really complain about anything. You can spawn any one of the 3 ships. There's no like limitations. You can't buy anything right now. I will note there is currently a glitch in the launcher where you download it and it says buy now, but it's grayed out. You can't click it, and the recommendation from the developer is to close the launcher and reopen it fully, and then it will work, and that did work. So I have an inkling that they're going to charge money for this game at some point when it becomes a game. You can note that I'm trying to move this cart. They're trying to show you that there's industrial capacities. That's what that is hinting at. However, it is kind of interesting to note that those are probably going to stay props. You can see that little hint at a moon base. Once again, we cannot get to the moon, as far as I know. But this hangar barely functions on that one little ramp, and you're going to see some really shocking thing here. I realize you can spawn ships. That's not the shocking part. Now, this part right here, I'm going to watch it carefully because I don't know how the heck I fell out. So I fell through the hangar. I was just trying to get a dynamic shot, and the floor gave way. That was not supposed to. I moon bounce, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's a lit up ladder right there. I'll just take the ladder to get back. Even though And then as I'm trying to get to the ladder, I fall through into space. So my first experience in space in this game is falling through a hangar door. It is what it is. And staring at that beautiful, the moon of Earth, just hanging out there. In the distance, you can see Earth. I seriously doubt we're going to be able to get near Earth for a long, long time in this game as it continues its development. And they have multiple years of projections on their website. I'm not going to go through all that, but you're welcome to learn more about it. And this continues this cultural move of the game towards having a space-based world. It's interesting to note, just a couple months ago, they told players you could not undock. It's not ready yet. You'd have to spawn the ship, activate it, and that was it. That was in September. They wrote that as a mention back to a player. And while it's extremely, extremely buggy, this game is it's a game. It's something you can play and screw around in and have a good time completely for free, other than hard drive space. I think it was 18 gigs or 20 gigs or something. Again, I'm trying to be impartial. I think this is a firebrand of a game because people that want to see games like Star Citizen, an alternative to Star Citizen, or maybe coming from Star Atlas looking for another project to be excited about, it's from the indie perspective. I think they are looking for something new, and this is something new. So I've learned the hard way a few times in the past that if I have any kind of window, it upsets a lot of people that I consider in some cases friends, or folks I've flown with in the past in Star Citizen, or even in Eve a long time ago, come out of the woodwork and call me out because they're newfound fans of these type of games. So I've got to be extremely careful with how I handle them, and as long as I'm respectful, I think I'm good to go. Now, I think these hangars are for show. The ones that are lit up to my left, I later realized they have the markings. They have the 4 number with like the L, the H, the the A, the whatever. And so I realized, first of all, EVAing is very hard in this game. You only have this little collar. It looks like it's around your neck and your upper shoulder, torso, like upper shoulders. And the scroll wheel is very important. It slows you down, speeds you up, and you can WASD your way through EVAing currently. I hope they release a better suit that EVAs much more efficiently and also more tactically. Like I want to be. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but I want thrusters in different other parts of the body where you can move, because then you end up with this situation where you look like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for a moment there while I'm trying desperately to slow down. Also, there needs to be some sort of arm grapple and tracking of where your feet are, like magnetic boots would probably be smart, but I that might be making too many requests. So I think just a simpler let me buy it with in-game money suit that allows me to EVA more effectively and more finesse, like more small movements. I hit the escape key and respawn, and I'm back inside the showroom. So there's very little consequences for screwing up in this game currently. And even when the ship blows up, you can't retrieve it immediately. If you leave it outside and you respawn or you break it or something, you can't just get it back right away. But within a few minutes, it seems to just do like a clearing pass. And that's all it goes. So I decide that hangar is busted. Should I go back to that hangar or not? I don't. I make that decision of time to go to another hangar. At least I hope I did. Finally. So I changed to another hangar, and this is where this gets a little interesting. So I didn't know how to take off. Again, as I said at the beginning of this, it's probably going to make a little more sense now that the keychain is really funny. As I said in the beginning of this, you hold down the S key, you activate the system through that S key, it creates a circle, and then you have to turn, keyword turn 180 degrees the other direction, and that allows you to leave. So I figured out the first part eventually. I didn't figure out the rest of it. You will note this is the same ship, and I get a little more creative about trying to get on board. And I'm like, aha, I figured the system. I've hacked the Gibson. And a little Red J needs to fly. So we're ready. We're good to go, right? Wrong. So again, I didn't know you had to hold down S to spawn. It doesn't tell you that. It doesn't have it in the instructions. It's not even in that the keypad that I put up at the beginning. It's like little things like that are just a screen. It's just a picture that you put in the menu to like see your keybinds and stuff. Like, to me, something like that, you need to add that right away. Make it as seamless as possible. And while you're at it, there's these huge grabby arms inside this hangar. Why do the hangars not spin you around and point the dang ship out towards space? So you hold S to take off, and then it should be pointing you out to space. It has these huge grab arms that are effortlessly moving the entire ship around like it's a Tonka toy, but it still leaves you the wrong direction, so you have to spin the whole ship around. There's very limited space inside this hangar. So especially as ships get bigger in this game, industrial ships in particular, when they're laden down with cargo, it's going to be a real pain point. And I just don't understand. These look like they're inside the other end of this place, the showroom. So you'll see all 3 ships are there, including a Harbin that's already on the show floor. Even though I'm flying a Harbin, it doesn't disappear from the show floor, of course. And you'll see on this, but when I press F, I go into this mode. You press E to tab between the different sections. So you'll see the cargo and trade. And one of these attempts to fly, I do actually go, yes, you can see there, I tried to go into the buy section. I just wanted to see if there was test cargo. I would have attempted to load up a piece of it or something like that. You also note refueling with the space bar, WSD, until you get to the refueling, hit the space bar, and it tells you don't have any money. But it's okay because we got 90% fuel. And it's okay because we're only going to fly for approximately 5 seconds in this go around if I manage to activate the ship. But I'm learning. So right now, the ship, unbeknownst to me, is pointed the wrong way. It's pointed towards the bottom of the hangar, towards the rest of the space station for some reason. I assume that they're trying to show you that, like, when you landed in your hangar, the random hangar you picked to land, you flew in face first, right? The front of the ship first. But the frustration of this is you can spawn the ship in any hangar, and the ship is brought in on these giant arms. It could effortlessly turn you around when you go to take off. So this is an edit. I did save the video. I went onto other sources. I was searching to see if I could undock. But it's still the same ship. It's still in the same hangar. It's still me screwing around with it. And you'll note these giant arms, I'm finally realizing, are like still mounted to the ship, and I'm baffled by. And I'm noting, like, this could easily be rectified, this whole situation. Honestly, the arms could put you in space. I mean, that's the way I would have coded this. I realized that, wait a minute, what is that? I pressed the S button. Wait a minute. There we go. So when you hold down the S button, all sorts of interesting things happen. Note that also the walkway disappears, so it'll be very hard to get back, as you saw earlier when I dropped to the ground trying to get off. There's a little symbol with little arrows. I think it's hinting to you that you're going the wrong way. So I think that the door is broken or something. I was like, oh no, it's closing. No, I'm not supposed to get out that way. So too much speed. And I blow the ship up. Because the ship sets you up for failure. You have to go backwards, or you have to spin the whole ship around inside the hangar, where your camera isn't even pointed. I really hope that's a glitch. Okay. Second attempt now. So, as you can imagine, that was an edit. I'm at a new hangar because I wanted to make sure there's no wreckage at the other one. I didn't want to be accused of anything or any nonsense. This is the combat vessel. So I jump into the Badger, or literally jump in, because I don't want to get tricked by it. And I'm looking around. I'm noting, like, hey, this is not too bad. You'll note that there is like an F key issue with the Badger, where there's like that damn left server seems to stick in any direction. But as long as you're looking right at what you need to hit, it's okay. It doesn't get in your way. It's just annoying. Bugs like that in games like this, you got to learn to love them. You just got to live with them and just realize. I will say that it looks like it's going to space or somewhere. It's a big mind tease when realizing now this is where the ship was supposedly stored in the concept. So I'm trying to beat a door that I can't possibly beat because I don't realize that's what I'm in. So now I'm right up against a mechanism that is designed to hold what's holding you in place. So now I am attempting to leave. This is a combat vessel that has more thrusters, more aggressive tuning, at least based on what the little bit of time I flew it for 5 seconds. And I'm like, oh, how am I going to get out of here? Again, it's below me the entire time. The visibility of even when I went into third person, the ship is blocking your view. So the visibility in this ship is it's not terrible, but it's not great either. All of the ships are going to suffer from visibility because that is a design choice of the game. There is this design, at least of these smaller ships, and this is me, once again, wrongly thinking that this door is broken. It should be open, so maybe if I try hard enough, I can phase through the door. Remember, I fell through the hangar in first person, EVA'd my way out. This is when I finally realized that behind me is the space. Slam into something. Again, I'm leaving it all in. Normally I would edit that out and just show, oh, this is how it looks when it's outside. Be sure to avoid this, this, and this. And then obviously that's my hint that that's happened to me, or I learned from somebody else's video or something. But in this case, I did not watch anybody's videos. I did not. I learned these the hard way. So I'm finally free. Can I get to Luna? Well, I'm gonna try, dang it. You know I'm gonna try. So what happens? Well, for starters, I'm trying to get my ground bearings, but I remember that the MFD is off to the side. And that MFD allows me to target places like Earth and see Moon there, and what we're at, which is Hoster Station that we're leaving. So I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. I can target anywhere I want. Anywhere I dang well please, I can target. So it allows me to target Earth and Moon. I figure they're valid targets to go to then, if you let me target it. That was a wrong assumption. So the next stage of this adventure is me hitting an invisible wall after I test the ship for a few moments. I do think the Badger is kind of the most honest of the ships. Like, it just feels like this is how a combat manufacturer, like a contractor that was making combat equipment for some military or for security of a corporation or whatever the heck this is, would get like this. You can see, by the way, the logos of Fullerene in the top left and Coratech. I believe Coratech's the software and Fullerene's the company that manufactures it. You can also note that I'm using other sources. Again, leaving it in. I don't want anything to be said about the whatnot. So, Moon. There's the invisible wall. First time I hit the wall. Okay. So, what the heck happened? Was that a glitch? Is that something else? I'm seeing advertisements again for Moon 1. They really want me to go to this moon, right? It's right outside the window. It's like, go here. This is a clear indication. The space station is orbiting the moon. It's not orbiting Earth. So how in the world am I supposed to get to Luna? All right, well, I'll try again. I'm pretty stubborn like that. Maybe the ship itself had a glitch. Maybe I went near a quest area, I think was my brain was going towards in this moment. You know, like a mission contract. I'll pick a different hangar. I'll try again. So now I know a lot more by this point. So, you know, as we're starting to hit the 40-minute mark or whatever, I'm starting to realize what is involved here. And I'm just saying, hey, it is what it is. I can go straight to the hangar, spawn a terminal, and you know what? There's a ship I haven't tried yet. Let me try that industrial. In fact, I didn't even go into it inside the showroom. So this is probably a good idea if I'm trying to give this an honest coverage. Also, maybe the ship works better. Who knows? Remember, it has exposed thrusters. It's I'd assume overbuilt for all that cargo it's not carrying right now. Just 4 times 28 M3 worth of cargo, I believe, if I remember the stats correctly. So, I should be doing all right. Now, once again, interesting. I'm just totally ignore that. That's that chair. And you'll note that there's a nice combination of like multiple windows inside this industrial. A little different, a little fun. I again say, you know what? I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to undock. I now know that behind me is actually where the action is, for lack of a better term. And out I go. You can get a good perspective of the pilot's visibility from this view. Dead center top of the ship front. So if we go back into the other design, you can see the tri thruster layout. Again, they were very exposed thrusters, including the auxiliary thrusters, reaction thrusters, whatever you want to call them, on the sides. But they're overbuilt, and I think they're just geared towards getting as much thrust as possible to safely move your cargo. This thing is not interested at all in fighting, but interestingly, it has two hard points for weapons. When you hit the U key when the ship is actually flying, you will see the weapons expose themselves from little tiny doors at the front. So again, the combat one has 3 weapon hardpoints. The industrial has 2, and if I remember right, the civilian only has 1. But I did not see if there's any utility hardpoints, so I'd be curious if it's in the inverse. The civilian has more research and exploration. In this game, they do list exploration. You can see it's very awkward, the animation with the guns, but that's the guns in the front. There they go, going back inside. And when the animation does work right, it does look really neat. What is not neat is those giant exposed fuel canisters that are completely exposed. Not even the sides are covered, which is unfortunate. Again, if a ship strafes this thing, NPC or a player, it would be very interesting. And that's something I have not confirmed yet if PvP is going to be in this game, but I'm assuming there will be some elements of PvP where you go somewhere to do PvP at the very least. This area did not allow me to shoot guns, but it could be because it's a demonstration area. It could be that the game doesn't allow that. It might be hard-coded in that the game doesn't allow that. So before I go blow myself up at the moon, I thought, you know what, I'm going to test... what if I'm going on a mission? So a contract for an industrial ship would be maybe salvage the satellite or replace a part on this satellite. And this would be a really, really good use of this ship. And obviously there's all these little asteroids and satellites and stuff strung around the station to give you something to do, to kind of give you a vision of where this game's going. That's my impression of what they're doing, for better or worse. And you will note there's a new manufacturer here. So I think it's FEPIC? Yeah. FEPK? But it's got a crazy little image of a guy's head with like a water wheel inside of it thinking, I guess, doing its FEPIC things. Really cool. Or it might be a space station that goes in circles. But in any case, you can see these beautiful solar arrays I'm taking care not to break. I'm investigating the location while manning the ship. And you can see that the ship, unlike first-person EVA, is actually pretty good at little precise movements. And I can really... This is an industrial ship, and I can wing this thing around. And I'm like, this is not bad. Now, this is a one cruise ship, so I'm curious as the ships scale up in their different roles, like an industrial ship, like, let's say in the future has three crew, it's a bigger ship. I don't think you could get this close and get this aggressive and still not like accidentally have risk hitting the satellite. I had absolutely no qualms that this was going to stay in place once I got it in place. You do use the scroll wheel heavily to go forward and back at any reasonable speeds, and then the strafe keys in A and D again are really heavily used. This game, for those who are like flight simi type things, at least at this moment, I had a vibe it was more arcadey in its flight dynamics than other games until you got to the slower speeds. Then it felt good. It felt really tuned. I don't know if that's just anecdotal for me, playing only for a few minutes at a time in this situation, like an hour long gameplay testing with only a few minutes of flight. But based on what I saw, I thought they really nailed down the precision on the small movements, especially because they feel very realistic. That it punishes you if you go too fast one direction. You can't just directly compensate. These are not like in more hyper futuristic sci-fi games and shows and movies where like you instantly can move around and stuff. This ain't Star Trek or anything like that. And it feels more towards once again the Expanse and the entire, that whole beginning of that. I felt like that was more the directions it was going. You can note again the solar panels. That was an edit, by the way. Again, if I get these really long runs on these videos, I get a little nervous, especially when I see a lot of graphical issues. There was an issue where there was a shaders of the shadows of the player character were looking pretty rough. My worry with that is if there's a memory leak or something else while I'm capturing, it could ruin the rest of the capture. It did not. By the way, it's a wonderful you can download this thing for free. I didn't see anything saying you can't stream it, you can't record it, you can't make a video about it. So yeah, if you're a content creator, it seems to be pretty good. It's capturing pretty good on my NVIDIA 4070 Ti, and that's fine with me in 4K on a NVIDIA 4070 Ti on epic settings. Now, granted, I doubt in this early iteration if those setting changes really matter that much, especially the whole gamut of like high, medium, low, epic, whatever. Anyway, I simulate going over to the satellite, or simulate like landing there, which your character does not do. You can note that again, the character EVA is brutal, and I think this could easily be fixed if this is a design decision of making EVAs a freaking nightmare, then add grappling and add a grapple cannon. So like like you fire out like this thing and it magnetically attaches to the side of another target. And then it's like you're risking the ship by doing that though. Like if the ship starts thrusting away, it has to emergency disconnect or something, and then you're not going to be able to use that to get home, or it could damage your ship or whatever. But I think there needs to be a utility to this. You can note now that I'm back in the oxygen environment, that noise changes where you actually can hear it a little bit more. And yeah, so anyway, get into the comfy leather chair of the industrial vessel, and I really, really wish that there was more things to do with the Adalia. So this is the industrial vessel, one crew ship. There is no, as far as I know, there is no test cargo. There is no way to open those boxes. I'm sure with my luck, I should have done a little more looking, and would have been a different kind of video if I did, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that figured out how to open the boxes at least, probably. Anyway, so I decide again to try to go to the moon. As I said, this is not going to work, but I hit the B key in order to go faster. If you want to test that hyper speed, their version of it, which is nowhere near, what other games have speed wise. And I'm sure there's gonna be some type of animations that go with this, maybe micrometeorite effects or something, or star shift or something. If I was them, I would add something here that would make it more exciting, and also give a clear indication to players. Now, I want to note here, before I saw the blue stuff, I did hit the B key again. I only ran it for like 10 seconds, then I hit the B key again. I thought I was being sneaky. I was like, okay, I'll get up to the wall and see what I can do. And it didn't work. Well, this is kind of crazy. I seem to have accidentally broken to a construction placement menu. So this is, it turns blue when there's enough space to place this thing, whatever this is. And it seems to be on like a mining module or a power plant module for putting on an asteroid or putting on Luna, like the moon, and the moons in general in the game, all over the solar system, to like harvest or something. That's the vibe I got. Now I could be completely misreading this, and but this was kind of crazy. So apparently there's a hidden crafting menu. Now if that's already in the game somehow, I don't know, but yeah, and then it went away. So that is my take on this. I hope you appreciated it. Thank you to my long-term subscribers for putting up with me. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I will be putting out Star Citizen content. 4.0.1 is not been giving me a lot to talk about. Not working fire extinguisher, I got footage of. I've got some topics about PDS turrets and about balancing them and what I think about them. But there ain't a lot of meat on the bone right now, frustratingly. I tried to finish up the Save Stanton series. I've still got to go through a lot of that slog. So some of my gameplay, unfortunately, is like trying to finish that. That's not very exciting for video. So yeah. In general, I'm happy where things are going with Star Citizen. I want to see more progress, and I hope to see a very fortunate February, hopefully, and as well as this will talk about how crazy this game is. Look at that. I didn't even do that. You can't blame that one on me. But yeah, I hope to see a very fortunate February, and maybe even expansive February. But I am a massive optimist, and I doubt we're going to see all of that in the same time period. But maybe the fortune. All right. That's all I got. Thank you again for being here.